Hi guys! So today we're going to continue our conversation about fractions. Last week we took a look at how things like pizza or parts of time reminded us of fractions. Today I chose candy bars because candy bars kind of remind me of the fraction strips that you guys created. If you take a look right here, I've put here a whole candy bar, and I am going to show you how to represent fractions with this candy bar. Now, if you remember, fractions means part of a whole. So every time I take a part of this candy bar away from the whole, that is a fraction of the candy bar. Let me show you. So suppose I wanted to divide this candy bar with two other friends, right? So that means that's three people in all. So I need three pieces or three fractions. So I see that there are three parts there, and that's where that word thirds come in. So I'm going to just write thirds. Okay, so this is called a third, this is called a third, and this is called a third. So this is 1/3. This is also 1/3. And this part is called 1/3. Now, if I was counting to get to the whole, I would say 1/3 for me, 1/3 for one of my other friends. So far that's 2/3 of the candy bar gone. And 1/3 for my final friend, or 3/3 to make the whole. Okay. So now some of you are probably wondering, I'm looking at the paper, but how does that remind you of the candy bar? Well, if I had to share it, that means I literally had to cut it. I'm going to cut this 1/3, 2/3, and 3/3. Today we want to take a look at what happens if I have more than one candy bar. Would I call it something different? Will it still be thirds if I divide it? Let's take a look. So here is another candy bar. So if you are looking, how many whole candy bars do I have there? That's right, I have 2 whole candy bars, but I can count it in different ways. I could say 1 candy bar, 2 candy bars, or I can take and divide it all again and share with my friends that I have and see how many parts I have. So let's take a look. Okay, boys and girls, so the question was, what do I do if I have more than one whole candy bar? Because I'm sharing these candy bars with my friends, right? And it's 1 friend, 2 friend, and me. So now I have a second candy bar to share amongst us. So I have to also divide this one into 3 parts, which I've already done here. So how much would each person get? Let's take a look at this, because I can't just say 1, 2. I have to name this part. And if you remember before, this one part right here has a name. This one part, ooh, that looks gooey, is 1/3. And that 1/3 is going to go to me. This 1/3 is going to go to my first friend, and this 1/3 is going to go to my second friend. Well, I'm going to do the same thing here. This 1/3 is going to go to me. This 1/3 is going to go to one of my friends, and this 1/3 is going to go to another friend. But look what's happening here. I have 1/3, 2/3, 3/3, and I have 4/3 that I see here that I've passed out. When I give my friend, my first friend, a piece, that will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/3, because I've counted 5 parts. Here I have 6/3 because I've counted all 6 parts. I've also counted 2 whole candy bars, because each time you get to 3 pieces on this candy bar, that is a whole. So I have 1, 2 wholes. Now, boys and girls, this also reminds me of number lines, and you're probably wondering how. Well, if you remember from last week, counting on number lines is the same thing as counting your fraction strips. You have to identify the parts. So what I'm going to do for you is I'm going to show you how to use these strips to count along a number line. Now, you can see this is one candy bar, and this is your second candy bar. And I said that it reminds us of a number line. So I'm going to draw that out for you. So if I draw a number line, and it's not going to be perfect, but that's okay, I'm going to show or demonstrate the parts of each candy bar on this number line. So from here to here is one part, two parts. Let's scoot that over a little bit because we don't want space. Three parts. Now this is my other candy bar. I'm going to scoot it over because we don't want space. Space makes our measures inaccurate. So that's 1/3, 2/3, 3/3. That could also be called one whole. Okay, so let me label that for you. From here to here, this whole little piece, this strip, from here to here measures 1/3. From here to here is another third, so that is 2/3 because I'm counting. From here to here is 3/3. Let me do that again. So from here to here is 3/3. So this little piece got added. So from here to here is one whole or 3/3. 3/3. So it has two names when you get to the whole. So I'm going to add another piece. So this actually has two names also. It could be one whole is covered and 1/3, or it could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 thirds. Notice it's in counting order: 1/3, 2/3, 3/3, 4/3. What do you think this next one is going to be? What do you think that one is going to be? From here to here is another third. So from here all the way to here, what do you think it's going to be? If you said 5/3, you are absolutely correct. If you said you've covered one whole candy bar and 2/3 of another candy bar, you're also correct. It has two names. This first name is what we call a mixed number. It's mixed because it has whole numbers and parts of another number. This is what we call an improper fraction, if you remember from the video last week, because the numerator is greater than the denominator. So now we have one more third to put on our number line. So from here to here is another third added. And so now the name for this one is going to be 1 3/3, or 2 wholes, or 6/3. Now, I can't assume that it's going to be thirds anymore because my pieces may change. So I need to analyze closely to see if my pieces have changed, the pieces that it takes to make a whole. So I'm analyzing and I see that this is my whole right here. These are the pieces that make up the one whole. If I analyze further, I see I have two wholes, just like the candy bar that we looked at earlier. So now I'm going to map out my pieces so that I can determine my denominators for my fractions that are going to go on this number line. So I see from here to here is one whole candy bar. And then from here to here is another candy bar, just like our candy bars that we looked at earlier. Now, please don't pay attention to Mrs. Rome's lines. I am drawing this and talking and videoing all at the same time. Okay, so now I need to look at how many pieces it takes to make the whole. Well, if I look, this is my first whole, but I see a tick mark or a hash mark right here. So I'm going to put a vertical line. So I noticed that there are two pieces that make the whole. Well, when you have two pieces that make a whole, we call that halves. Halves. Okay, the F changes to a V at ES. Okay, so now I'm going to label that this is 1/2 side by side with another half to make a whole. See that? Well, if I keep going, The second candy bar, I need to do the same thing. So I have halves. So this is going to be a half side by side, half side by side. Okay? And I can clearly see I have 4 half pieces there. So now let me number it as though I'm creating my tape measure. Okay? So from here, my starting point will be 0 over 2. 2 because it takes 2 pieces to make the whole. From this point to this point would have been just 1 half piece. Now I'm looking at this half piece side by side with it. That would be 2 halves. And if you could see, 2 halves equals 1. Anytime the number on top matches the number on bottom, that is equal to 1. So now I'm going to put another half piece side by side. So I'm looking at it like this. So I have 1 half, 2 halves, 3 halves. So from here to here is 3 halves. And notice Mrs. Rome is only putting it in improper fraction form because I want to keep it consistent this time. When I started off, I showed you the mixed number and the improper, but now I'm just going to keep it consistent so that your brain can kind of understand what's going on. Okay, so now I have 0 halves, 1 half, 2 halves, 3 halves. I'm going to put another half piece side by side, and that makes 4 halves.